Here's a truth that might make some men uncomfortable. Women notice when you disappear, and they think about it far more than you realize. The moment you stop replying, stop chasing, or simply step back, a shift happens in her mind. She starts questioning, reflecting, and even doubting herself. That silence, that absence, speaks louder than words ever could. And if you understand this dynamic, you can use it to create respect, intrigue, and attraction, all without saying a single thing. The reason this works is simple: human psychology. When a man is always available, it's easy for a woman to take him for granted. His attention, validation, and presence feel abundant, and her mind never has to work for it. But the moment you pull back, a subtle tension arises. She starts wondering what you're doing, why you're not reaching out, and whether she misjudged the situation. That mental energy she invests in thinking about you is powerful. It often leads to fascination, curiosity, and even regret. Disappearing isn't about being petty or playing childish games. It's about establishing boundaries, protecting your energy, and demonstrating that your time and attention are valuable. Women instinctively recognize this. When you operate from a space of calm independence and silent authority, your absence alone becomes a statement that you're a man who cannot be taken for granted. I end this video. We'll dive deep into what really goes on in a woman's mind when you simply disappear. We'll explore the psychology behind her thoughts, the emotional reactions she experiences, and why this silent move is so effective in creating respect and attraction. By understanding this, you'll gain insight into how women operate, how to maintain your value, and how to influence her perception without drama or manipulation. Welcome to the channel, where we break down the real truths about female psychology and attraction. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what happens in her mind and how to use that knowledge to your advantage, creating a dynamic that benefits you both mentally and emotionally. 1. The instant reality check. The moment a man disappears, the first thing that happens in a woman's mind is a subtle reality check. She immediately notices the absence, and it triggers a series of thoughts she might not even be fully aware of. When a man is always available, his presence feels normal, expected, and often taken for granted. But when he stops showing up, responding, or chasing, that normalcy is broken. Suddenly, she's forced to reassess her position and her behavior without you having to say a word. Imagine a scenario. You've been casually interacting with a woman, texts, calls, and plans have been flowing freely. One day, you stop replying as often. You don't argue, beg, or explain. You simply focus on your life. Within hours or a few days, she begins noticing the gap. The absence itself acts as a mirror. She starts asking herself, why isn't he reaching out? Did I do something wrong? Or is he okay without me? That instant awareness is powerful because it's not provoked by drama or confrontation. It's purely a result of your presence being withdrawn. This reality check is effective because it forces her to confront her own feelings. When attention is abundant, it's easy to overlook someone's value. Scarcity, however, creates mental space for reflection. Women start noticing little things they hadn't appreciated before. The way you carry yourself, the moments you were attentive, or even the subtle traits that made you stand out. That gap in interaction suddenly amplifies your value in her mind. Another key point is that the reality check is silent but undeniable. You don't need to explain, justify, or remind her of your worth. Your absence alone communicates that your attention is finite and valuable. This taps into a natural human tendency. People pay more attention to what they feel they might lose. Finally, the instant reality check begins a domino effect in her thought process. Once she starts reflecting on your absence, other emotional and psychological responses begin to unfold: curiosity, self-assessment, and a desire to reconnect. The best part is that this entire process happens without confrontation or drama. By simply stepping back, you've set the stage for deeper intrigue, increased respect, and even a subtle pull of attraction, all before you even engage again. 2. She starts wondering about you. After the initial reality check, the next phase in a woman's mind is curiosity. When a man disappears, she naturally starts wondering about him. Questions run through her head. What is he doing? Why isn't he contacting me? Does he even care? This isn't just idle thinking. Her mind starts investing energy in figuring out your life, your priorities, and your intentions. That mental investment is powerful because it's voluntary. She's thinking about you without you asking her to. Women are wired to notice absence and scarcity. When someone who was once present suddenly becomes less available, it triggers a natural drive to understand the situation. She starts replaying past interactions, analyzing her own behavior, and noticing small details she may have ignored before. Maybe it's the way you listened attentively, the calm confidence you showed, or the subtle traits that make you stand out. Absence makes her notice. This wondering also creates emotional engagement. Even if she doesn't reach out immediately, she's experiencing a subtle pull. Her thoughts about you might range from curiosity to mild frustration, but underlying it is a recognition of your value. The fact that you can operate independently of her attention signals that you're not desperate or easily swayed. That alone elevates your perceived worth in her mind. Another key factor is projection. Women often project their own insecurities or desires onto a man who disappears. She may start imagining scenarios where you're happy without her, where she has to compete for your attention, or even where she fears she may have lost her chance. These projections fuel fascination because her mind is actively engaging with the idea of you. The beauty of this process is that it happens naturally. You don't have to manipulate, chase, or explain yourself. Your silence and independence are enough to create mental and emotional engagement. Women start thinking about you more, noticing your value, and reassessing the dynamic, all because you simply stepped back. By understanding this, you can see why disappearing strategically isn't about being mean or indifferent. It's about creating space for her mind to engage, for attraction to grow, and for respect to develop naturally. When she starts wondering about you, she begins to invest energy, mental, emotional, and sometimes even physical, without you lifting a finger. That's the silent power of absence. 3. The mind games begin without you playing. Once a man disappears, something fascinating happens in a woman's mind. The mind games start on their own. And here's the thing, you don't have to play any games for this to happen. Her thoughts begin to swirl, scenarios get imagined, and her emotions fluctuate, all because she's processing your absence. Women naturally try to make sense of the unknown, and your disappearance creates exactly that. An unknown she wants to understand. Her mind begins running through possibilities. Is he upset with me? Is he interested in someone else? Did I do something wrong? These questions aren't always conscious, but they drive her attention toward you. Her brain is wired to notice what's missing, and the sudden lack of contact activates curiosity and, often, a desire to regain a connection. This internal game is powerful because it engages her thoughts without you needing to do anything. The unpredictability of your presence, or lack thereof, creates a mental tug-of-war. She might oscillate between confidence and insecurity, thinking she knows your value one moment and questioning it the next. That fluctuation is what keeps her emotionally engaged. The mind games that emerge naturally from your absence are subtle but effective. They heighten her awareness of your worth, make her analyze her behavior, and increase her investment in the dynamic. Another critical point is that this is not about manipulation. The effect is a byproduct of human psychology. When someone who is previously present becomes scarce, the brain registers this as an important shift. Emotional and cognitive energy is redirected toward understanding, evaluating, and sometimes strategizing how to reconnect. That energy she invests mentally is powerful. It's her attention, her curiosity, and even her desire being naturally drawn to you. Disappearing also highlights your independence. By not chasing or over-explaining, you signal that your life, priorities, and attention are your own. This subtly challenges her without confrontation. Her mind engages in these games because she wants to bridge the gap, not because you forced her to. The more composed and self-contained you remain, the stronger the effect. Ultimately, the mind games are proof of the influence you have simply by stepping back. You don't need to act manipulative, overthink strategies, or chase validation. Your disappearance alone triggers reflection, emotional engagement, and attraction. Women naturally start investing energy into your absence, and that is the silent, powerful effect of simply disappearing. 4. Emotional waves you can't see. When a man disappears, women experience emotional waves that are often invisible to him. These aren't obvious or dramatic outbursts. They're subtle shifts in mood, curiosity, and attachment that happen internally. A woman may appear calm on the outside, but inside, she's processing absence, reflecting on interactions, and feeling a pull that he might never notice directly. Understanding these waves gives insight into why disappearing is such a powerful silent move. These emotional waves often begin with surprise and confusion. Suddenly, a man who is present and engaged is no longer as available. That shift triggers an internal check. Why did he step back? Is something wrong? She begins analyzing past conversations, actions, and moments, trying to figure out her role in your absence. Her mind is active, curious, and invested, even if her outward behavior is neutral. Next, these emotions often turn into subtle desire or increased attention. Absence creates space for longing. When a man stops providing constant availability, he unknowingly gives her the chance to notice his value more clearly. The qualities she might have overlooked, his calm confidence, his independence, his attention when it mattered, start to stand out. Her feelings become layered, combining curiosity, interest, and sometimes even admiration. Another layer of these emotional waves is reflection. Women start reflecting on the dynamic between you, comparing it to other experiences, and evaluating what she truly values. This reflection isn't forced, it's a natural consequence of absence. Her mind is filling the gap you left, imagining scenarios, and assessing whether she wants to re-engage. That internal energy is powerful, and it often increases attraction without you doing anything intentional. These waves can also produce subtle tension or mild frustration. She may feel compelled to reach out but restrains herself, creating a push-pull internally. That tension is a signal that she's engaging with the dynamic on her own terms, which can be far more effective than overt pursuit or manipulation. Ultimately, emotional waves happen because human psychology responds to absence and value. Women invest energy mentally and emotionally when a man disappears, creating intrigue, respect, and attraction without any effort from him. Understanding this dynamic allows a man to step back confidently, knowing that his absence alone triggers reflection, desire, and increased mental engagement. 5. When curiosity turns into obsession. After the initial reality check, wondering, mind games, and emotional waves, something deeper begins to develop. Curiosity starts turning into obsession. This doesn't happen overnight, but when a man disappears, a woman's mind often latches onto him in ways that surprise many men. Her thoughts begin to revolve around the question, why isn't he here? And that question naturally evolves into repeated reflection on him, his behavior, and his life. Consider a situation. You've been interacting with a woman regularly, texting or seeing each other occasionally, and then you step back. You don't flood her with explanations or apologies. You simply focus on your own life. Within days, she may start checking her phone more often, thinking about what you're doing, or recalling small moments you shared. That curiosity builds because absence activates attention. The more she invests mentally, the stronger the pull becomes. Obsession is fueled by a mix of scarcity, intrigue, and emotional engagement. When a man operates independently, maintains his boundaries, and disappears without drama, it signals value. She begins to notice what she may have taken for granted, whether it's your attention, your presence, or even your attitude. Every interaction she remembers becomes more meaningful, and your absence magnifies that effect. Another factor is the internal narrative she creates. Women often imagine possibilities, replay conversations, and assess their own behavior in relation to you. That mental rehearsal isn't conscious effort, it's a natural reflection process. She's actively engaging with you emotionally and psychologically, which increases her fascination without you needing to do anything. It's important to note that this form of obsession is not about unhealthy attachment. It's about mental and emotional investment. Your absence simply allows her to process her feelings, recognize your value, and begin thinking about you consistently. The more composed and self-contained you remain, the more her mind fills the gaps you left, often elevating her interest and desire. The takeaway is simple: disappearance, when done with purpose and confidence, transforms initial curiosity into sustained attention and fascination. Women invest mental energy, reflect on your value, and often experience a pull to reconnect. Understanding this process allows men to leverage silence as a powerful tool in maintaining intrigue, respect, and attraction. 6. She notices your value without you saying a word. One of the most powerful aspects of disappearing is that a woman begins to recognize your value without you having to point it out. When you're constantly present, available, and giving attention, your worth can become invisible. It's easy for her to take for granted what's always there. But when you step back and create absence, suddenly the things that define you, your confidence, independence, and calm presence, become noticeable. Women are naturally wired to notice scarcity. When your attention isn't freely available, she starts reflecting on what makes it worth earning. She begins to remember the times you listened, supported her, or simply carried yourself with quiet confidence. Every subtle action you took in the past gains weight in her mind because she no longer takes it for granted. Your value is amplified by your absence, and that's a silent yet incredibly effective way to command respect. Another important factor is independence. When you focus on your own life, your goals, your hobbies, your social circle, without relying on her validation, she sees a man who has his own purpose. That independence is magnetic. Women are drawn to men who lead their own lives, and by stepping back, you allow her to notice this trait organically. She doesn't need you to tell her you're valuable. She sees it in your behavior and energy. Disappearing also triggers reflection on past interactions. She may think about moments she overlooked, conversations she undervalued, or gestures she didn't fully appreciate. That reflection increases mental investment because she begins analyzing your presence in her life. Suddenly, she realizes the effort and attention you gave were meaningful, and that awareness can spark curiosity, respect, and desire. It's worth noting that this recognition of your value happens without drama, pressure, or manipulation. You don't need to explain yourself, justify your absence, or prove your worth. The very act of stepping back and maintaining your standards allows her to see you clearly. She notices the contrast between your composed, independent energy and the behavior of men who are always available and reactive. Ultimately, this is the silent power of absence. Women notice value when it's not constantly displayed, and that creates intrigue, respect, and attraction. By simply being yourself, maintaining boundaries, and allowing space, you naturally elevate your presence in her mind. This is one of the most subtle yet impactful ways to influence how a woman perceives you without saying a single word. 7. Reflection and regret, the wake-up call. When a man disappears, the final stage in a woman's mind is reflection and often regret. By this point, she has gone through curiosity, emotional waves, and recognition of your value. She starts to genuinely evaluate the dynamic between you and herself, realizing what she might have taken for granted or overlooked. This is the wake-up call that many men underestimate, but it's one of the most powerful consequences of stepping back. During this stage, women often replay interactions in their head. They think about the time you were present, the conversations you had, and the subtle ways you showed value and attention. These reflections highlight the contrast between your composed, independent behavior and the behavior of other men she may have encountered. She starts questioning her past actions, wondering if she misread signals or acted carelessly. That internal processing can lead to regret that she didn't appreciate your presence fully when she had it. A situation might illustrate this naturally. You've been part of her life, but always on your terms, respectful yet independent. Then you stop initiating, focus on your own priorities, and maintain your boundaries. She notices your absence, feels it, and starts reflecting on the times she might have pushed too hard, tested limits, or underestimated your worth. That mental loop often results in a subtle shift in how she perceives you. Suddenly, she realizes that your presence mattered more than she acknowledged. Constructive criticism for men here. Too many fall into the trap of over-explaining, chasing, or bending over backward to maintain attention. That behavior dilutes your value and makes you predictable. Stepping back forces reflection not just in her, but also in you. It teaches patience, self-respect, and the power of boundaries. The wake-up call isn't just for her. It's a reminder for men to recognize their own worth and maintain it consistently. The beauty of this process is that it's natural and effortless. You don't need to manipulate, pressure, or dramatize. Her reflection and possible regret are triggered by your consistent independence and absence. Women begin to value your presence more when they experience its loss. This stage often solidifies attraction, respect, and sometimes even desire, without you ever having to initiate or explain yourself. Ultimately, reflection and regret serve as proof of the influence you have simply by stepping back. It's a wake-up call that demonstrates the silent power of absence. Women notice, think, and feel sometimes long after you've withdrawn, and that is where true attraction and respect are built. Here's a truth that's often overlooked. Disappearing doesn't make you cruel, it makes you magnetic. When a man steps back, stops chasing, or simply focuses on his own life, a woman's mind starts to engage in ways that words or actions rarely achieve. She reflects, wonders, experiences emotional waves, and often comes to recognize your value, all without any effort on your part. Absence done with purpose is a silent form of influence that creates respect, intrigue, and even desire. The controversial part? Many men believe that constant attention, explanations, or chasing will make a woman value them. In reality, it's the opposite. When you overgive, overcommunicate, or overexplain, you dilute your own worth. Women are drawn to men who operate independently, maintain boundaries, and carry themselves with quiet confidence. That's when fascination begins and when curiosity turns into reflection and sometimes regret. I want to hear from you. Have you noticed women reacting differently when you stepped back or disappeared? Share your experiences in the comments. I read every message and engage personally because real-life stories show how these dynamics play out in practice. Remember, true influence is quiet and strategic. It's not about manipulation. It's about self-respect, independence, and understanding human psychology. When you master the power of absence, women notice, respect grows, and attraction strengthens. Use this knowledge wisely, stay confident, and watch how silence can speak louder than words ever could.